Good morning. This is Playing to Win with Mark Henderson Leary and my good friend Brad Freyer. How many times have I done that and I still startle you every time?
Oh, it's just amazing, though. It's what you need. It's that jolt you need to get the Monday rolling. Let's go.
A little extra caffeine in the ears and the brain. How are you, man?
Fantastic now, man. I was a little slow rolling. It's been a long couple of weeks, but man, after that, I'm ready to go. Ready to take on Monday.
Good. And so what's new?
Man, just I have traveled, I think, almost every week of the first quarter. Not all business. A lot of it's been personal, but I've been going. I'm tired, man, but it's been good. It's been good.
I had a little twinge there. I was like, well, so I guess that's how 2022 is starting off. I don't know where my mind's been. It started.
We're in April. We're about to be in April.
It's halfway through. Yeah. I don't know, like a sort of a coming out of the holidays, getting the year started, and then planning for spring break, and all the things going with that. It's like, well, it's
How about
midway
through? Good.
Yeah. Great vacation. Apparently, everybody thinks now it's time to take a great vacation because 2 years off of vacations, everybody's doing it once. That was fun, challenging, and expensive. Yeah. Everything's a little more expensive right now. Planning requires a lot more attention to detail. We're in this tiny little, tiny little ski town, and for a couple weeks called Red River, New Mexico. And the townspeople of the 500 population, and a lot more people there than actually live there. But I was there the week before official spring break with my daughter's spring break and the actual spring break that Oklahoma and this state, Texas, take at the same time. And the town was like, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. There's going to be, get your bread, get your staples. It was like we're talking about, like we talk about hurricanes here in Houston, like go to the grocery store now, get the water, get the milk. You're not going to be able to get any by Tuesday.
Yeah. So. You got to love it. it. So went skiing as well. Had a good time, but
now you went skiing too. I guess everybody.
Yeah, I was in Park City.
Everybody went to Park City except for me and my family.
What's crazy is I haven't been to Park City in probably 30 years, and I went this year with a group of friends. And while we were there, several other friends happened to be there at the same time.
Yeah,
and joined us for dinner one night and met them on the slopes and blah, blah, blah. It was absolutely bizarre. So, but we're not here to talk about vacation. I know that because people don't listen to this to hear us talk about our vacation.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What they want to talk about is how do you hire people and what's the deal with the market right now?
They do.
I don't know. I do because I'm in the midst of hiring and negotiations and for comp plans and what's the market doing and what are people expecting and are there people coaching people and giving them bad advice?
That's a good point. Yeah, I was kidding around. Everybody I'm working with these days is trying to hire better and more permanently, and it feels like there's a shortage of good talent. And so what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a shortage of good talent. B, I think there's a sense of desperation, and granted, that's always been there. One of the things that we've always joked about, I've always said to clients in the past was, look, the number one mistake made in hiring is interviewing 4 candidates and saying, hey, this one sucks the least, let's hire them, versus being patient and finding the actual good fit, right? Finding someone who's a good fit. So, you've got, it is an employee market right now, right? Wages are up. People are throwing money at candidates. And there's a shortage of really good quality out there. So, and on top of that, I think it feels like the candidates know it's an employee's market and are just taking advantage of it. Whether that's being coached, whether that's being promoted on the World Wide Web, or whatever else. But I mean, I've heard of a lot of situations where people are getting good, solid offers and countering with, what some might say are ridiculous counters.
It is an interesting time, and the Great Resignation, everybody's dealing with that. I say everybody, but most people in my world are very much dealing with that. They're losing good employees to previously unprecedented reasons, the ability to work from home in specific ways across the country. I know people who have decided they no longer want to live in where they have been, and they want to choose where they're going to live on entirely unrelated grounds. Like I want to be in this geography, and that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to work, virtually wherever that allows. And I think my theory is that if you want to survive the pandemic, in terms of the employment, you feel like you're bulletproof. Like if you can survive that, you can do anything. And so I think a lot of people are just willing to mix it up, and so they're pushing hard. I have a theory, and that is still a lot of companies tend to rely on the comp as the differentiator. They don't do a great enough job making the opportunity of the business and the reason that they would be part of this organization, and why this is a better horse to ride, rather than just like, well, it's $10 more across the street. And because I still see people who are saying, yeah, if you don't have anything else to offer, it better be the money. But I do think that people want to know that this is going to be a good life for them, that they're going to enjoy the time, learn something, they're going to level up for it, they're going to like the people they hang out with, because a lot of people aren't happy with the people they're hanging out with right now, particularly their boss or their manager. If they're not a good leader, they're like, I think a lot of conversation is about comp, because inflation is real. And so if you're going to make a move, it's going to be economically feasible. But I still believe below the surface, it's about something more.
Well, I mean, hell, that's a great point. You could even break it down to the pain in the sales process, right? How many sales organizations will tell you that it's all about price? Hey, Mark, we're a commodity, potatoes, whatever. People, all they care about at the end of the day is price. Well, we know that's not true, because we've worked in commodity industries, and we know when you go out and have those meaningful conversations with clients and prospects, they'll tell you the real motivators, right? And I think you're spot on, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people have very poor hiring skills. They don't know how to interview. They don't know how, what the process should look like. They don't know how to sell their organization or identify what's motivating this person for change, right? Does this candidate have pain? And if they have pain, what are they looking for to solve it? But I'm sure you've seen it. How many of your clients, how many of my previous clients didn't have a process for hiring? Right? Yeah. They didn't have, a 4-step, 5-step process that included, an initial screen, an interview where one person is selling the opportunity. The next interview is where somebody's really drilling home the points to the candidate to make sure they're a good fit, and then an assessment, and then another interview, and then an offer, with each step having a particular purpose, right? Yeah. Not just arbitrary. Hey, why don't you go talk to Mark for a little bit? Hey, Mark, I'm going to send old Bob in to talk to you. Y'all get to know each other a little bit, and let me know what you think. And then you come out having no idea what the intention for your interview was, and you tell me, yeah, I liked him. Seemed like a good guy. Yeah. Who gives a shit? That has nothing to do with the interview, right? Doesn't tell you if he can do the job or not. He seemed like a good guy. Okay. That helped not at all. Sorry, I just went on a rant. No, it's good stuff. And so I got a lot of things running around in my brain. I want to organizedly get them out. So I am in a hiring process right now, and I've coached my clients through the hiring, and I realize that since I do it so rarely relative, because of its much smaller organization than my clients who are constantly doing it, that I kind of got in and maybe a little cavalierly got to step 3. I was like, shit, I'm not ready for what is my step 3? And so I had to really kind of like, oh my gosh, my cart's ahead of the horse. And I had to kind of figure out how to, like, I'm sort of shoving in assessments at the last second and trying to get all this stuff done. Yeah. But I do think that there's the thing I push hard for is
core values, right? So core values about the culture, the fundamental beliefs of the organization that, you have to be on the same page with being one of us. And so having that self-selection, here's the core value speech. Here's what it's like. We're attention to detail around here. And if you don't think details matter, this is going to be really frustrating for you. But if you love details and you think you can see the difference between this great color gray and this other color gray, you're going to love it around here, because we're all kind of like that. And so if you can give the speech that the self-selection is important, people will go, yeah, you've got great core values. I'll call you tomorrow. And they don't call. And that's what you want. You want these people just to kind of disappear because you're a little weird in a way that some people love and some people don't love. And so I think it's a big part of the process. Then when you get into the interview part of the process, though, I think a lot of people hopefully are trying to figure out, can this person do the job? And so in the EOS world, we talk about GWC. Do you get it? Do you want it? Do you have the capacity to do it? And to say that in a different way, this is the job. These are the 5 things you're expected to do. Do you understand what that means? If I look you in the eye, do the lights go on and you see the same thing? And then want it is not willing, right? So wanted is, do you want to do this? Are you excited about it? Are you thinking you're going to be thinking about being better and better at this? You're going to train hard. You're going to read the books. That's the W, the want. And then the capacity is it simply possible? Do you have the right intuition? Do you have the right emotional sensitivities, simple physical strength if the job requires that? But all that to say, the questioning and the reference checks tend to do more of that latter. The core values, you can usually creep them out in the early part of the interview when they realize that you're a little weird, and they either love it or hate it. But you and I had a conversation before this started going. I harp on my teams a lot about the difference between wanted and willing, and I think that a lot of the challenges that people have hiring, when people kind of keep upping that offer, or like, hey, you're an intern, and like, yes, I would like full benefits and a private jet access, and I would like 6 weeks off. And so that's in the wanted. Do you want this job, or are you willing to do this job? Is there something else you're more afraid of? Do you want to take a job to get you out of unemployment? I want to know. This is the job description. This is the work we're going to do. There's a path here, maybe a career path. Maybe this isn't exactly amazing work for you, but you see a path to something else. I want to know, is this exciting to you? Forget the comp for a second. Forget where you're going to be paid. I want to know, does the job in and of itself get you excited? And I think that a lot of people will save themselves some heartache because there's lots of people in the interview process who are willing, and they haven't thought about what their superpower is. They haven't thought about the long-term benefit of being in this role. And I think you can really tease out some candidates who are just along for the ride.
Well, and certainly, you made a couple of great points with the GWC, and the bigger challenge is that hiring managers don't know how to identify that.
Right.
I have sat through, I've probably, specifically sales and leadership, I've probably done somewhere around 700 interviews. Just a shit ton over the years. And I've sat in and shadowed managers doing interviews to help coach them and whatnot. And some of the questioning techniques and strategies are just absolutely deplorable, because it's completely leading the witness, right? Yeah. Hey, this job's going to be very detail oriented. How would you describe yourself? Well, I'm very detail oriented. Oh my God. What? That's fantastic. This is kismet. We are meant to be. Yeah. We really look for self-starters. Would you describe yourself as a self-starter? Yeah, absolutely. I do. I am a self-starter.
I got myself dressed.
Yeah.
I managed to get
started my car. Yeah, and then you go down the line to, you talk about the capacity or their ability to do the job, and we ask anecdotal questions in the interview process that we're given anecdotal answers to, and we don't peel the onion, right? I was talking to some folks about hiring salespeople recently, and we were talking about but the resume, they were working for XYZ company, and they were producing like $5 million a year in revenue. Just a top producer. I was like, well, where did the revenue come from? Well, what do you mean? Well, where the $5 million, what made up that $5 million? Well, I don't know. Well, where did those companies that made up the $5 million come from? Well, what do you mean? were they given those accounts? Are they house accounts? Did they prospect them from scratch? I mean, like for me, one of my favorite questions when interviewing a salesperson is to ask a salesperson, hey, what's your number one account? What's your number one account that you're the most proud of? You know, and they'll name their biggest logo that you recognize and the big account. All right. Hey, take me back. Oh, so congratulations on that. That's a great account. Hey, take me back to the very beginning. Where did that start? Well, you know, they had this thing and and so we worked on this. No. Where does it start? Take me back to that first phone call. Who did you call? How did you get their number? What, you know, and what you find out through that, and I've done this numerous times to people who are top producers, and one stands out the most, but hey, take me back to that first call. Oh, well, yeah, so the owner of my company knew so-and-so, and they've been friends for a long time, and they've been talking about doing business and and so they were already kind of and so when I came in, you know, we closed the deal and I've been managing it. Okay. So this is a buddy of the owner of your company, and you came in and you kind of account manage, you know. So this person's waving this flag like, hey, I'm a $5 million producer, and if you want a farmer, he might have been a fit, but if you're looking for a hunter, he had no indications that he has achieved greatness through hunting.
So when you interview, I'm curious about the ratio. I mean, there's lots in this actually. You're interviewing sales reps, you're interviewing for a hunter position, and you sort of do that DNA check. What percentage of hunters are actually have a track record for hunting and killing stuff?
Oh, small,
tiny hunters. Hunters are rare, right? So, we're a little bit off track, but if you're hiring salespeople and you hire a hunter who's actually a hunter and you let them farm because farming is easy, you are foolish. Because
there's a lot of hunters that hunt only as long as they have to. Right. Because it's harder, but also hunters make a lot more money, right? Or they should. And that's another mistake people make is they comp all salespeople the same right, versus comping hunters as they should be compensated.
Yeah, that's a whole other recording, I think, because I really drive my clients to make a clear understanding of the net new sales process and the account management process. And if those two are blended, you better have a good reason, because the economics do not match at all. It is a very different game and a very different comp model. But in some organizations,
now they can be. Yes, in smaller companies, they almost have to be, right? Because you can't have, most companies can't afford to have an inside and outside sales team.
Well, but you say that, and a small company, if you take a decent hunter, say decent, like he can hunt at all, and he gets a handful of those clients, and he starts account managing them, his ability to hunt goes away. You no longer have the hunter. So if you've got that one sales rep and they fill up on account management, your hunting is done. It's not happening.
Yeah, I would tend to suggest that they have sales support, and that their comp is based off of continued growth. And I mean, there's 100 different ways you can build comp plans, but I'm a big fan of paying them a lot for new business up front, and then having that be a scaling down percentage over 3 years, so where that every year they're having to bring in new business because they're going to get paid less on the business they're managing, and so in order to maintain status quo, they have to sell more. Because I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're way off on a tangent now.
Absolutely. Where's about hiring?
Yeah,
hiring or recruiting. So what's more important?
Let me ask you this: when you feel like you're paying someone fairly, you feel like they have a fair comp, or maybe even you've made an initial offer that was fair, and they come back and counter. How do you feel about that?
Well, it depends. So if I'm taking it, I could perceive this as ungrateful or a lack of W. Like you clearly weren't willing to sacrifice. Because I like it. I'm actually in an interview process, and one of the candidates is like, I'm worth a lot of money. We'll start wherever. And I'm from her. It's sort of like, I'll show you. You think it's gonna take 3 hours, it's gonna be 30 minutes. It's gonna be good stuff. I like this work. I'm ready to go. So that to me pulls me in. But if somebody's saying like, I want to do this, but here's sort of the math. Here's where I'm at. Here's what my alternatives are. I'm trying to make a decision. If we can kind of horse trade this, If it's done professionally, above board, and I'm not feeling like I'm being held hostage, there's going to be an emotional gut check on this. To some extent, I'm like, the words might make sense, but on my gut, I'm like, something doesn't feel right here.
Yeah.
And I might walk away on that. But if I get a good faith conversation that somebody's like, hey, everything, it sounds great, but if we can move this piece out of the way or move this one into the picture, I'm in, and I get sent it's good faith, I think that's normal. I have to know going in, though, what's this position worth to me?
Yeah.
And I got to know the range, and especially right now, inflation is a thing. You have to know what the value of this is going to be. And if some positions, it's like, $5,000, $10,000 is like nothing relative to the impact. And you better be willing to say, let's move. This is the right candidate. Let's go. Or you're like, no, there's a dozen of you waiting behind that. And that $5,000 should just stay with me.
Well, yeah. Or that this position is worth this much.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, because there are job functions that you just can't afford to pay them, 10, 15% more. So if you're hiring an admin role, and you've got a candidate, and your threshold is 35 to 40 grand, you put a good faith effort out, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna offer you 42 because we really want you on the team. And they come back and say, appreciate that, but I also want this, and I also want that, and I also want some more time off and a little bit more money. What do you do? Do you see that as a sign of things to come? Or do you see that as, you know what, no harm done, because you never get what you don't ask for?
I think it's all in the delivery, right? So if I'm having the conversation and I ask it. Yeah, it's in the delivery. It's in the delivery. And I guess were expectations set. So in this process that I'm in, the person I had doing the initial conversation said, "Here's the range. Are you in the ballpark for that?" So that's another part of that. Expectations set. This is the ballpark, and so it's bracketing in your sales world. Like, did you pass the bracket test?
So that's a really important distinction too, because if you have an organization that has multiple people involved in the process, you have to make sure that the messaging is all consistent, and that different players in the process are managing different pieces of the expectations. Mm-hmm. Because it's safe to assume that whether it's on the job description or within the initial conversations, that, hey, here's kind of what we're thinking this position's worth, or here's what our range is. But no, you're right. I mean, you have to make sure that those conversations are had early and often, so that there's no opportunity for confusion.
Yeah. It's interesting difference, because so I'm hiring a unique one spot position that has a tremendous amount of impact in terms of efficiency. If you're hiring a half a dozen and you know what they pay, and you know that you're going to have some turnover, and it's like, this is the job, and efficiency and effectiveness. I think bespoke, detailed conversations in my world, it matters. Like, let's slow this down, and I will negotiate on a lot of different points, because it commands that kind of attention. If you've got a call center and there's 7 open positions, there's not that much bespoke conversation. It's sort of like, this is what it pays, in or out. I got more people behind you. Yeah.
That's almost commodity versus specialty services, right?
And so you got to really understand the path, right? Commodity positions, it sounds kind of inhuman, but if you're new in the process, so you're looking for a job, you got to see this as a path to somewhere else, and understand what chips are on the table. What's the biggest asset to you? The experience, the entry into the company, the work style, the time, whatever. So if you're coming to I think you have to have some real awareness. So I think this is probably the issue that you're dealing with, Brad. That this position did not command this kind of negotiation, and you've got somebody you're concerned might be tone deaf to the state that that's not this job. There's other jobs that would make sense for. And so I don't think you're hearing what we were saying, and that would be a flag. Does that make sense?
Yes. I actually like the way you put that, because I mean, I think you're spot on. It could be a flag. It's interesting too, because if the position that you're hiring for, I believe is admin role, or theoretically.
So admin, by the way, since we're talking about it, can mean anything. Like it can
Fair.
be like sales support, repeat these same things, and it's very, very data entry. But
Yeah.
when I say admin, I mean like right-hand person, like
Okay.
in my
All right.
world, in my
All right.
biz.
All right. So let's say that it for you, because of your business model, because of your P&L, because of the skill set required, you've identified that this job is a 40 to 45K a year job. You find a candidate that you really like, and so you say, you know what, I'm going to go 45 was my upper threshold, but I'm going to push it to 50 just because I really want to put my best foot forward. I really want this person on the team. Let's go. You offer 50, that person comes back and says, yeah, it's a good offer. I really appreciate it, but I need a little bit more. I need another week vacation, and I need, another, $1,500. What do you do?
Well, what do you do? What do you want to do?
Good reverse. I don't know. I mean, so to your point, right? Delivery is important. Frame of reference, context clues. But here's some of the challenges, right? If you're starting already above your comfort zone for a position that you've identified as worth this much, and then you go out of your way to add more to it, a couple of things happen, right? Number one is, if that person doesn't knock the cover off the ball, you now feel like you're overpaying for an underperformer. And it's going to be a short amount of time before resentment kicks in, right?
Or termination. And so you got
to likely termination, right? Because once you've checked out on a team member, you might as well just, because you're going to treat them unfairly, and maybe not intentionally, but as soon as you lose interest, or as soon as you feel like someone is taking advantage of a situation or underperforming, people tend to behave in a manner that's consistent with how they feel.
Well, I can tell you, by the way, you already resent this situation. You already have it.
Yeah, you're right.
You personally do. And this reminds me
a
lot, and this sounds far afield a little bit, but I talk to many people who come into my session. We got an employee who we're struggling with, think we need to get rid of him. Okay. All right. Tell me about that. Well, here's the problem. We just gave him a raise. What? How did this happen?
Well,
so how that happens is somebody they feel a little hostage to has asked for a raise, and they've given them a raise, and they're now really pissed off. And I say, well, this is fine. Actually, it sounds terrible because you think you've given them this encouragement. But you see, now all you got to do is say, the bar is super high. And if you're not up to the bar, we're going to exit you from this position. It actually makes it helpful because like the bar is now higher than before.
Yeah.
But I think you're in that spot right now because I think you've been sort of asked to raise the bar. And you're
theoretically.
Like,
theoretically,
I had some doubt. Yeah, we're talking a friend of yours, hypothetically, a friend of yours whose name is Frad. So you watch this. I mean, if you get into this situation, you got to be able to show up with good faith and take a step back. I think you could miss out on a candidate. And so what? Because everybody in your organization is replaceable. Everybody, the best people is replaceable.
You know what? I had a month ago, I had a heated debate. Heated is probably strong. I had a spirited debate with a group of folks about, is everyone replaceable?
Yeah.
I personally believe everyone is. I believe I am replaceable. I have proven that I am replaceable, right? I mean, I genuinely believe. Now, is it easy to replace everybody? No. But, will they do it this? Will they do it the same way? Will they do it as good? No, maybe not, but everybody is replaceable.
Yeah. And if they're not, you need to be, because you're vulnerable, and that critical non-replaceable person might leave. I always say everybody in this room, this is a leadership team, could get that call.
Yeah.
And the odds are high because there's 7 people in this room that in the next year, one of you will. Make sure everybody's replaceable. I
had that conversation a month ago, and the concern, because it's not a matter of if they start putting the heat on you to pay them more, et cetera, it's indicative of the path you're going to be going down for a while.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a likelihood that even if you pay more and they stick around, it's going to be there's a runway there. Right. And so the question I said, okay, pay them more. Great. Go for it. Love it. So, earned it. Right. Not sure that in the time frame and the manner in which it was done, I would agree with, but so what do we do in 3 years? What are you going to do in 3 years when that person leaves? why would they leave? Why would they stay? If they believe that they've got so much more capability, at some point they're going to feel like they've outgrown what you can do for them, and they're going to leave, right? They've already got that mindset after a short amount of time that, well, I'm more than I'm being billed for here. So what happens when they leave? Well, then we'll go through. Okay, so you're saying you can do it. You're saying you can replace them. You just don't want to have to.
Yeah, I think there's two problems here. One is that there's a committee involved, and that's creating sort of unequal value in an individual, and then also we don't know enough. We gotta get off this call. By the way, you got to move on. But I think that the pattern of figuring out how to put somebody into a type of this position is not understood enough to know whether this is an individual negotiable type of thing. And you got one person who's kind of the pattern interrupt. You're like, oh my God, are we thinking about this wrong? I think you got to figure that out. Is this that kind of position? If not, you got to say, okay, thank you. Let's go back. Or this is that individual and it's a unique unicorn situation, which you have not sold me on. So that's my opinion for,
all right. We're way over time.
All right. So what was the summary on this? Did we just ramble? I don't think so. I think we had some good stuff in there, but
I think the biggest summary is if you're a hiring manager, have a process, know what your steps are to the process, know what you're trying to achieve at every step, and be prepared, right? Have a game plan, have a script, have questions, and know what you're trying to accomplish at each step of the way.
I agree. And you open this up, if you got 4 candidates and you're choosing the least worst, that's not good. But also bear in mind, there is a mountain of data that if you have 3 options, you make a better choice than if you have 2 or less. And so if that binary, I got somebody, I don't have somebody, you almost always don't have relativity of the fit.
Yeah.
If you've got 3 decent candidates, the odds are high you'll make a great choice amongst them, and make sure you've got that. And because if one of them gives you a funny vibe, you got to be able to say, like, I don't know, but I think I have a better bet over here. So that's the summary on that. Have a process that produces 3 viable candidates and choose amongst those, and make sure you understand the nature of the position. Is it unique and you've got to really negotiate, or is it like, no, we understand this and this is what they cost, and I'm not going to break my own boundaries on that. Yep. We will see you next time on Plan to Win with me, Mark Henderson Leary, and my good friend Brad. See you, brother.
Thanks, Mark.